Friend of mine used to run a ridiculously exclusive cocktail bar. He always said, "The ones in the fancy clothes who look filthy rich are normally reasonably wealthy. The ones in jeans and t-shirts who look normal are normally filthy rich." Basically, the truly rich people didn't see the place as anything out of the ordinary, so saw no reason to dress up. Money talks. Wealth whispers, in a nutshell. If you use money to get time instead of time to get money. I have found as I get older I have slowly gotten to the point where I do use money for more free time rather than time to get money. What an insightful answer. Here is an award. Alan Clark, a British politician born into a wealthy family, once disparaged someone by describing them as the sort of person who bought all his own furniture. I'm the sort of person who has scavenged all of my furniture from the curb or a dumpster. Spontaneity. Just talking about something or some place and doing it or booking it there and then. One of my roommate's childhood friends has generational wealth, billionaire level. They lived on the big island of Hawaii and she would remark that he would just decide to go skiing, in Aspen on a whim, and wonder aloud why everyone else didn't just drop everything and go the next day. The guy was super down to earth but a bit disconnected from the reality of his friends living paycheck to paycheck. I know it's not a big thing, but people who use really nice plates and silver cutlery very casually. I've seen poor people with Mustangs, but I've never seen poor people eating with polished silver. My family isn't poor, but we only bring out the silver on special occasions like Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. Going somewhere pricey and not looking at the total before you pay. Edit. Change tots to total. Though tots is also correctly hilarious. No doubt, tater tots and other frozen potato products have been going up in price. A Steinway concert grand piano in the living room, worth about $195,000, that no one in the household plays. Just having the space to have a piano that size in the house, especially if it's not used often, must mean you're pretty well off before you even look at the name on the piano. Owning a second house or a boat and not feeling obligated to use it heavily. Owning a second house or boat at all. Saw someone say once, everyone enters their house through a garage that's empty except for some bottled water. I don't know why, but this is so true. This is a good one. Picturing it made me think of the graduation parties at really nice houses I've been to, and the garage is always clean and empty. A clean, empty garage that's drywalled and painted. Now that's an owner who has their shit together. They don't work on their own cars or buy so much unnecessary shit that they need extra storage space. Suspicious amounts of free time to pursue their interests, travel, or just be out and about. Those stories of, I'm doing my bucket list now. Just who is paying for this bucket? Not bothering with refunds because it's not worth the hassle. You don't have to be rich, just lazy. I used to work at a clothing store. This lady comes in. She's well dressed, looks great, and is super polite to the people helping her. At checkout she pulls out a black Amex card. She was not my first black Amex card customer, but she was above and beyond more of a human than the others. I assume she was rich as fuck. What's the deal with this black Amex card? Is that the most prestigious card available? Retired with no debt before being in your 50s. My wife teaches kids with parents like this. She made the mistake of asking what their parents do for work, and a good quarter said they were retired and most of them are in their 50s. No logos on their clothes, but very well fitted, tailored, and pressed, cleaned. Far as I'm concerned, this one is huge. Knew a girl who always wore beautiful clothes that were anything but loud. No tags, no huge designer brand names on them. She was a diplomat's daughter and her family ran in literally the top circles in her country. I used to work in private aviation. The richest man I personally knew from the job owned a fully spec'd up Gulfstream G650ER, roughly $80 million with its spec package. Other than when he was getting on and off his personal aircraft that he used to fly between his home in Hong Kong and our base in Canada, you would never know he was that wealthy. He'd often show up for his flight in a beat-up old minivan that he liked cause he could fit lots of stuff in the back. Very humble guy, amazing tipper. Now the simply rich people, or the ones that had just enough money to fly private, were the worst. Rude, entitled, cheap. Took 3 million pictures the whole time they were getting on their chartered, not owned, Learjet. Literally less comfortable than premium economy on the airlines, and just overall acted exactly like how rich people are portrayed in the media. I met many other ultra-wealthy people in that work, and most of them were all like the first guy. Very chilled and friendly. Didn't feel the need to show off anything. I've been in aviation for going on 12 years and have had the same experience. The real wealthy people have generally been incredibly down to earth, with the exception of 1 or 2 people over the years, and you'd never know they were high rollers. The rich but not wealthy crowd tends to be mixed. Some are cool and some are asses. I once did an experiment, and wrote about it for a now-defunct magazine, where I wanted to see how high on the exotic car ladder I could go before they told me I couldn't test drive one anymore. Before I get going, the answer to the question is confidence. This was in 2005, so kind of pre-tech days where everything was Googleable and whatnot. But I was an ambitious writer in my mid-20s and wanted to really make an impression on my employer. I specifically didn't shave and my hair was a bit shaggy. I wore generic blue jeans and a plain no-logo polo shirt and a pair of slip-on Vans. I went for a clean, rich kid look. At the time I was driving a 1991 Toyota MR2, a small, clean sports car that was 14 years old but really well kept. I drove it to a Chevy dealership where I said I wanted to test drive a Corvette. They gave me a long runaround and a hard time, but after handing over my license for photocopying, getting my picture taken, and a credit card, they let me take it for a drive, telling me to be back within a few hours after I got the feel for the car. That was the first time I realized the more you pay for a car, the longer they let you drive it. I drove the Corvette directly to a Porsche dealership where I parked it and asked to drive a 911. We talked for a bit about the car, and after copying my license they handed me the keys and said to have fun, with no stipulation on time. I took the 911 to a nearby Ferrari dealer and was handed the keys to a Ferrari in minutes. I drove to the Lamborghini dealer down the street. I lived in Miami at the time. These places aren't too far apart. And made a big deal about going from a Ferrari to a Lambo but wanting to keep the Ferrari too, which apparently they didn't like the sound of, and I fucked up a rule I didn't really know about because I was trying to seem like I wanted a lot of cars and show off. I got too proud and blew it. They noticed the Ferrari had dealer plates and told me to get lost. So, I drove to a Rolls dealership nearby instead and drove a 300k Rolls-Royce with zero issues, and they had a big, buy it or not, we don't care, attitude. So I left and returned my Russian dolls of cars and got back to my dinky MR2. Being confident and not saying too much goes a lot way. Actually, rich people aren't trying to impress anyone or show off. They have confidence and know they can do whatever they want. It's ridiculous. I'm going to try to find the PDF of the article and add it to this comment tonight. I went to a Toyota dealer in 1993 to test drive a Supra. The guy said, and I quote, "Son, the insurance alone on this thing will bankrupt you." So I bought a Porsche instead. I used to know the price of a gallon of milk, but now I don't. I am not rich, but I used to be poor. I needed to know that price. Now we are blessed to have enough that if I need it, I just grab it without looking at the price tag. I imagine that being rich would be similar but on a grander scale. Edit. I ended up going to the store just now to get something for my husband and I checked. It's $4.51 for the store brand 2% milk. It's 1 gallon of milk, Michael. What could it cost? $10. Edit. Inflation is making this joke impossible. Damn. Paying for everyone's food. Picking up the tab. when done in a passive and nonchalant way. Pointer finger in the air motioning in a circle above my head and then pointing to myself means, first round on me. I work in the private jet world. Rich takes tons of photos getting on the plane. Real money just walks straight onto the plane. In #X200B. I could go on for days about the differences. Yup. I used to install electrical and audio, video equipment on large private jets, 727, A319 and larger, so pretty much billionaires. And those billionaires have their own flight crews making sure everything is perfect before they even show up. One family had their own hangar with several planes, and one day when I was working on a plane in the hangar, this rich guy calls and says he'll be flying in an hour, and so a massive scramble occurs to get the requested plane out on the runway and ready to go, and even fired up. Then the guy drives up in his big ol' 4x4 and 2 labs jump out of the truck with him and run right up the airstairs like they've done it 1,000 times, and 2 minutes later the plane is in the air.